Reid's like his dad.
Yeah.
Reid is like,
talker, right?
he's like my silent sweetheart. He doesn't say much, but when he does talk, it's always because he has something to say. It's a lot to say, right? And Skye's my talker.
Yeah.
But I don't get too comfortable with comfortable. So 7 years old, you were 7, at the end of grade 1. Is it confusing? So Reid got a fever. He just got a usual sickness like any kid. They get the flu. We thought he had a really bad flu. His temperature went up.
But he had no symptoms.
But he had no symptoms, just a fever and nothing else. No cold, felt a little bit nauseous, right? And we took him in, got everything checked, got blood work done, and everything came back fine. And then that was kind of it. But he never really got better. He stopped eating, and he basically just didn't want to eat, didn't feel good, didn't have any energy, was cold all the time, like blue cold all the time. And then August, we'd had enough. He didn't want to eat, his stomach was sore, and actually the thing that actually freaked me out the most was Reid had been playing outside with Skye and a bunch of kids in the backyard. And he came in and he ran up the stairs and he said, "Oh, Mommy, my side hurts so bad when I run," right where his liver is. We had a very bad incident with Reid, just got the wrong person at the wrong time. They did an ultrasound, they sent him home, did an ultrasound the next morning, did a whole bunch of blood work, gave him fluid, which was the worst thing you could possibly do in his situation. They gave him fluid, they did an ultrasound, and the resident came in and she said, "Cindy, there's something wrong with him. I can feel his liver. It's way below his rib cage." She said, "Here, you can feel it," and I could feel it. She had me palpate it, and I could actually feel his liver hanging below his rib cage. It was really creepy. So she's like, "Something's wrong with him. Something is definitely wrong. We don't know if he needs his gallbladder out." That's what we were actually scared of. But then after that, we were like wishing it had been that simple. And so the surgeon came in, top surgeon at the Children's, and she said, "There's nothing wrong with him. There's nothing wrong with him, and any other test that we could do here at the Children's would be more costly than if you went to your family doctor. So I'm sure you can understand why we need you to go." And I cried and begged her not to send us home because I knew he was sick. She said, "I'm sorry, we can't help you."
She had us pegged for, like, we were crazy or something.
She was very sure of herself as a surgeon, and even though
very condescending to
yes,
us.
and very condescending. And even though the resident disagreed with her, we actually had the other doctor come in after she left and say, "Just so you know, you can get a second opinion." We ended up bringing Reid there 5 times and being sent home 5 times, and every time he was worse and he had a new symptom. Every time we'd take him in, they'd weigh him, and I'd say, "How come he's gaining weight? He can't be gaining weight. He's throwing up and he's not eating. Why does he have a heart murmur when he's never had a heart murmur before?" And Chad pulled her boss in and said, "If you guys don't do something with my son, I'm going to the news." So they did.
The nurses were actually happy about it because they
Yes.
knew there was something wrong with him. And so they said, "Yeah, well, let's go get the doctor." And finally got him admitted. And we were trying to we were asking them, "What's the next step? What are you guys going to do once he's admitted?" And nobody could tell us. They had no plan. So I got in my car and took off. And just as I was driving past the Edmonton International Airport where they landed, I was looking over and they texted and said, "Just landed." So I was right there.
So you saw the plane land, basically.
And so by the time I got to the Stollery, the Children's Hospital, and parked, found out where I was supposed to be, he was probably been there for maybe 5-10 minutes. I found out where he was and got in there. And I walked in this room and there was probably 15 people standing around his bed. And Reid just sitting there looking at everybody like, wow.
I have to say one thing about the Stollery. It's not pretty, but wow, it is a well-oiled machine in the cardiac unit. When it comes to heart failure, the plans they have are just incredible, and they keep you informed all along the way. Reid did not get better, and
He was there for a week.
and all he did
He just
was,
went downhill.
oh my God, all he did was
He
throw
tried
up.
everything. To prepare yourself, I said, because we have to meet with the team as soon as you get here, and they're going to tell us he needs to have the VAD.
Put in.
That's what it's going to be.
And so this was like the scariest. This might have even been scarier than waiting for a heart transplant. Actually, it was Chad's gut feeling, because he's like, if we put this in, Cindy, that's it. Like, we're going for heart transplant. So if we do this, there's no going back. We took Stollery pictures because this was a high risk surgery. And I remember hugging him, just thinking, I just don't want to stop hugging him, because what if this is the last time I hug my kid, right? So we cuddled a lot that night. We went from 0 to open heart surgery.
So he's laying in the bed in the PICU. They brought him in, and when he first came in, they had a blanket over top him and everything else. All you could really see was his face. So when we went in there, Cindy peeled back the blankets, and he was tubes and hoses, and he had a pacemaker, and he had wires, and he had the bad thing sticking out the side of his rib cage here.
And he had 11 bags of fluid, really intense. The feeling in the room when they got him in there, which apparently is normal, was so intense. I actually remember a girl climbing under his bed. Do you remember that? Going around to the other side under his bed?
Yeah, because there's so much.
Because there's so much stuff. Nurses were, it was
the room was just full.
It was like, I've never seen anything like it before.
Crazy.
And the worst part was it was our kid.
2:30 in the morning, my phone rang, and sat up, and it was his number, VJ's number, and we just knew something was wrong.
Something was wrong. And I even said to you, oh my God, what if he had a stroke? Walking down this hallway, talking about, shouldn't say it, talking about how we give a funeral to a 7-year-old and how we tell his sister that he didn't make it. So that was the worst day.
Yeah, because we really, at that point, didn't really think he was going to.
He comes in and said that Reid's brain is swelling and it's putting pressure on his skull. So this kid who hasn't woken up, who's had a stroke, who's bleeding, whose heart device is scary and clotting, and all these things are going on.
You think, what else? You could never get worse.
Is I'm going to drill holes in his skull and put probes in and let out the pressure. And it was the first time in my life I thought I was going to faint. I could actually feel the black closing in, and I couldn't breathe because I couldn't hear. I couldn't believe he was going to do this to this kid. Because who could live through that? So how long was it, Chad? 3 days?
Well, we were sitting beside his bed for 2 days.
2 days. So he's got there's
still nothing.
And the scary thing is there's no reason for him not waking up. He has no anesthetic in his system. He has no narcotics in his system. Nothing. There's nothing but the stuff he needs to keep him alive. They could not figure out why he was not waking up. So we're thinking he's not waking up because he can't, because he's brain dead. So that was something that was on the table, is he's not gonna wake up because he can't wake up.
And just saying, Reid, it's mom and dad, and telling him, this is where you are, you're safe, yada yada. And if you can hear us, blink your eyes or squeeze our finger or move or do something. And that went on for 2 days.
Yeah,
and
begging.
Then we were starting to get pretty hopeless for the last little bit. And I was sitting there, and I put my finger in his hand like this, and I said, Reid, if you squeeze my finger right now, I will buy you a motorcycle.
I said, you promise I'll buy you a motorcycle.
I will buy you a motorcycle. If you squeeze my finger again, I will buy you a motorbike. And he squeezed my hand, squeezed my finger. So we're telling him all the stuff that happened, and telling him his brain got hurt,
Damaged.
and a little tear
Came down his cheek. He couldn't talk and he couldn't move, but he cried. It was so awful to tell him, because that's not what was supposed to have happened.